6, and we are only going for the bullet points, which is so significant, and you just go through once and you will find the whole letter number 6, from letter number 6, 7, 8, these 3 letters according to Betty Redis, letters of Abelard and Heloise. These are the letters of direction, and I'm just giving you the bullet points of letter number 6. So please listen carefully, go through it again and again, and you will be through this. So these are the points which I have made in a bullets for your comfort and for your convenience. So what are the things which, let's just start. Heloise to Abelard for new rules. Heloise is asking here to write to her and to make new rules for the life of the religious devotion, because now they both are they have completely devoted their life to the nunnery and monkhood, and there are rules which are there in the women convent, and these are the rules which are, many of the rules which are uncomfortable for the women. So she is asking Abelard to form new rules. So that matter she asked, and these are the things which I have taken from the text itself, and the text reference I'm giving you, letters of Abelard and Heloise, are translated by Betty Redis and introduction by M.T. Clenchy, which is prescribed in your syllabus. So this is exactly from the syllabus, and please go through it. So I will therefore hold my hand from writing words which I can't restrain my tongue from speaking. She doesn't want to speak, but she wants that because there are certain things which she doesn't want to speak. These are certain things which are happening in the convent which she don't want to speak and she don't want to pronounce. They are against rule and against the normal behavior which is prescribed for the women monk. So that's why she doesn't want to speak, but she wants to put them in point, and she says that a rule which shall be suitable for women and also describe fully the manner and habit of our way of life, which we find never done by holy fathers. So earlier fathers who were there, the rules which are being laid down, they are not practical, and they are very much against the law which is going on, which is the pious life, and that's why she wants Abelard to rewrite everything. So the distribution of the rules must be according to the difference of man and woman, and there are many points which will be there coming in your way, and you will find these are very significant. So through lack and need of this, it is the practice today for man and woman alike to be received into monasteries to profess the same rule. So there are many rules which are same for man and woman, and which cannot work because this is a medieval text. So these references of referring women as a weaker sex is very often. So you please don't take it personal, because these are old writings, and by that time the women's presentation and their individuality was not considered, especially in the social, religious and any other aspect of life. So you don't mind, but these are the things which we need to understand. That's why it is the weaker section, it is being referred as weaker section. So she says that please make certain rules which are specifically for the women only, and it should not be common for man and women. Then she says that the clothing, the clothes which women monk need to wear, they are uncomfortable, because she's going through, as per my understanding, when she talks, the rules of Saint Benedict is professed in Latin church by women equally with men, although as if clearly written for man alone, it can only be fully obeyed by man. So she's giving the reference of Saint Benedict, and she says that the rules which are specifically written for men, but they are being forced to practice by women also. So she wants to bring out this difference, and she says that, or indeed which tunics or woolen garments worn next to the skin when the monthly purging of their superfluous humor must avoid such thing. She's saying that the clothes which the women monks are being forced, they are, as per my understanding. If there is any other, please you can write me in comments, and we will add it in the next video. So, but as per my understanding, she's talking about the menstruation, where women monks have menstruation, so they cannot wear same clothes as referred for men, and that's how she is demanding for the comfortable clothing which can be managed all the women monk and the convent during their menstruation. Then Saint Jerome warned us for this when he writes to women in the book of the Art of Love. And what she's saying that I mean, it's a nature. She refers Saint Jerome, because Saint Jerome is referred very often by Abelard and Heloise, and he's a person who is very wise, and he's giving very wise advice to society of religious and social and in general society of that time. So she's referring the book The Art of Love, which is written by Saint Jerome. And then she says that, I mean, the nature of the man and women is different, and in a particularly religious sects, if they are being put together, then it is very much often that the violation of the rules will be there, because man and woman, they can involve physical act. So that's how the physical separation is geographically, the separation of man and women is very much significant. That's why we see generally the combined hostels are not there, in which girls and boys are staying together, because many people follow rules, and many of them are not able to follow that because they are not strong enough. So that's how she's saying that Saint Jerome, particularly to avoid contact with women of the world by men, and that's why when during night time, when the food is being served and the dinner time is there, by that time also she is asking that the rule must be made where men and women are eating separately, so those religious practices can be followed easily. And then she's saying that there is one reference, I mean, she's talking about the rules, regulations which are set by this time. She says that if a person is committing one crime, he is being punished for everything. So, I mean, the lesser crime and more punishment. And that's why she quotes Apostle James, may be quoted to condemn us alone. If man fails to carry one law, he is punished for all. And that's why a person is being made guilty for the lesser crime. So that's why she demands the equality of law. See, unequals cannot be treated equally. We cannot punish children, women and men all together in the same way. According to their age, their circumstances and their physical and social strength, we need to find out the difference. So unequals cannot be treated equally. That's why. So for the smaller crime, smaller punishment. For the bigger crime, bigger punishment. And then this is the reference again, letter number 6, the letters of direction, and it is written from Heloise to Abelard. So next is the apostle is careful to explain who said, "Thou shalt not commit adultery," and that's what the reference, letter number 6, Heloise to Abelard. So these are the directions for the life. These are the directions for the convent life. That the apostle is careful to explain who said, "Thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not commit murder," and these are the regulations for the life for the monks. And that's what she says, that because we are living high religious life, we are living at the example of the society, so we cannot commit such crimes. And then gathering in the harvest. Now this is also specific, where she says that women are being asked to go outside and do harvesting, because by this time, if you remember, it was a kind of rule in the religious society that monks and nuns, they used to go outside and they used to beg, and then they used to fulfill their daily basis needs, food, clothing and everything. So that's why she's saying that when it is a late night, when the harvesting time is there are certain customs which are uncomfortable for the women, so they must be avoided. And I just read out, what about gathering in the harvest? Has it ever been the custom for convents of nuns to go out to do this, or to tackle the work of the fields? Again, we test the constancy of women we receive during the space of single year and instruct them by 3 readings of the rule. And one law is wrong, one law is for all, which is wrong. And she quotes Saint Jerome, says, to be counted among vices, it is clearly contrary to reason and discretion if burdens are imposed without previous investigation into the strength of those who are to bear them, and ensure human industry depend on natural constitution. So she's asking that, no one would play on an ass a burden suitable for the elephant or accept the same for the children and old people. So that's why she's demanding a different law for the children, weak, physically weak, ill people, elderly people, women, and those who are not healthy. So that's why, and law must be, the punishment must be different for the stronger, physically stronger. That's why she's demanding the unequal law for the unequals. One law cannot be put all the unequals. Then she's referring Pope Saint Gregory, and she asks for the distinction. Heavy burdens may be laid on man and great matters exercise them by lighter burden on women. So that's why she's asking for the lighter burden for women. And she quotes the 24th chapter of the pastoral rule. Therefore men are to be admonished in one way, women in other way. Because women are they are, because of their physical difference from the man, she's asking for the different kind of law. That's why in our society also we have different rules for women, and we give a lot of protection to them. That's why the 100 number is there. That's why the women's special cells are there, women's special police stations are there, and a lot of safety guards and measures are being arranged for the women. So that's why she is asking for the women's safety. And then we laid down rules for monks and nuns. Neck of bullocks and heifer shouldn't know, since we brought under the same yoke of common rule. And this is how these uncommon rules she's asking for that. And that she says, since those whose nature create unequal cannot properly be made equal in labor. And then she quotes Saint Benedict, who is imbued with the spirit of justice in everything. And that's what she says that and the first straight with aboard himself and lay down that he shall preside over his subordinate in such a way. So these are the lot of the rules she's quoting from the Bible. Saint Benedict says about adapt himself to them all in accordance with the disposition and intelligence of each individual. He will accommodate and adapt himself to in all accordance with the disposition and intelligence of each individual. In this way, he will suffer no less in lack in the flock entrusted to him, but will ever rejoice to see good flock increase. And that's why he must also prudent and considerate, bearing the mind and good sense of holy Jacob, when he said, if I drive my herds too hard on the road, they will all die in single day. So that's how she's quoting Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is considered to be protector and harvester of the weaker fox. So he says that the way Jesus took care of his weaker section, and he gave protection and love to the weaker lot of the society, in the same way she is asking for the different rule for the convent. Diversity of food for different ages. So that's why that again the one thing is going same, that one rule cannot be applicable to all. Unequals cannot be treated equally. That's what the the proper bullet line you can remember. Unequals cannot be treated equally. That's why Dr. Ambedkar is also saying, and that's why we have a special provision for the weaker section, those who are discriminated on the basis of caste, and the women who are discriminated on the basis of their sexual identity, gender. So that's why unequals cannot be treated equally. And then she's saying that diversity of food for different ages. Such modifications of regulation is the basis of the concession granted to children and the old and weakest generals. So children would be having different food, women have different, and men different. according to their age, their physical strength, and their situation. So that's why the diversity of the people require the diversity of food. Then fasting according to the season or the amount of work to be done. So it should be clear that how much work one has to put, and many times it happened that women were forced to work more, and we all know that women are generally putting more physical labor compared to men because they are weaker section and they are controlled easily. So that's why she's asking for some certain rules must be laid down where women are given lesser and they are being relaxed. Again, because this is one of the most significant aspect of this letter number 6, and she says everyone will be fully trained if the reaches his teacher's level. So that's how consider them how far removed it is from all reason and good sense if both women and men are bound by profession of a common rule, and the same burden is laid on the weak as on the strong. In the words of Apostle, give no more thought to satisfy the bodily appetite. See, we all know it's a human tendency that people have a bodily desire, and that's why opposite sex are attracted towards each other, and that's why we have certain rules and regulations to control these common desires of human beings. And that's why she is saying that there must be people who are easily driven for their bodily appetite. I mean, a man is desiring for woman or a woman is desiring for man. So to avoid such weaknesses which are working, and then it could bring out all the problems. So that's why she says that my strength is made. She quotes the word of Apostle, and she says my strength is made perfect in weakness. But we should underestimate the religion of the laity of men like Abraham, David, and Job, although they had wives. And in this 7th sermon letter to Hebrew, these are many ways whereby men may struggle to charm the beast. What are they? Toil, study, vigil. So, and then she says that in prayer, give no more thought to satisfy the bodily appetite. So when you have adopted the life of monkhood, when you are living the life of convent, then these are the thoughts which are not permitted for your life, for religious pious life. That's why, and if you want to go out of this, go and live a married life, because that is also honorable. But living a pious life and where you have completely denounced the life of marriage, and then after having thoughts of women and marriage, that is a sin. Then the reference of that young widow should marry. So Apostle, because law can bring only a retribution. There is no law, there can be no breach of law. And the reference of the young widow should marry again. Then matrimonial issues are there. But if those who are virgins are still not saved because of the others' faults, what because of those who have prostituted and the member of the Christ and turned the temple of the Holy Spirit into brothel? The reference is for those monks who has actually publicly denounced their life as a pious and a religious holy man, but they are doing all the wrongs behind the curtain, behind the four walls. And that's what she reads out. But if those who are virgin are still not saved, but because of the others' fault, what will become of those who have prostituted the member of the Christ and turned the temple of the Holy Spirit into brothel? So these are the acts which are sinful and they are not accepted in the holy places. So it was better for a man to have entered matrimony and walked on the level at strain after heights of fall into the depths of hell. So it is better for such people to go outside this convent life and this life of religious fraternity, and they can go for marriage. So there is no need to do those sinful acts which is at the holy place. That's what, and this must be stopped clearly. So if there are women who are widow, they have every right to go for the marriage. And 7th book of his Saturnalia and Macrobius Theodosius in the 7th book of his Saturnalia notes that Aristotle says that women are rarely intoxicated but old men often. Woman has an extremely humid body and can be known for her smooth and glossy skin, and especially for her regular purgations which ride the body of the superfluous moisture. So when wine is drunk and merged with so general humidity, it loses its power and does not easily strike the brain when its strength is extinguished. So actually these are the behavioral aspect of the monks and nuns that they could involve in physical act. That's why we have to lay down certain rules and places and separate hostels, so man and woman are being kept separate, so such sinful acts are not taking place in the convent life. And then Saint Benedict, we have written down this rule in order that practicing, and that's how she's again referring Saint Benedict. You can read out because I'm leaving these writings for certain times, so you can note down and you can even take screenshot also. Wine is reckless and strong drink and quarrelsome as well. Wine is completely prohibited. It must be prohibited because it brings out so many unsocialful and unreligious behavior. That's what the instruction is there. Then Ecclesiasticus 2 is written. Wine and women rob the wise of their wits and are a hard test for good sense. Again, I'm telling you, these are the medieval writings, and that's why most often, because the writings are being done by patriarchs of the society and men of the society, so for everything wrong, women are being held responsible. So in this way also you see wine and women are robbed the wise of their wits and are hard test for good sense. It is never said that because of the loose character of man, because of the uncontrolled behavior of the man, they are getting involved in the unlawful act. But it is women are being held responsible. In fact, women are not responsible for anything. So that's how and she quotes how Jerome himself also, when writing to Nepotian about the life of the clergy, apparently highly indignant because the priest of the law abstained from anything which could intoxicate them, and Sir pass over our own priest in such an abstinency. So we read that wine is no drink for monk, yet because nowadays monk cannot be persuaded of this. So she quotes Saint Benedict also, and she said that wine must be completely banned from the life of the monk. And that's how this is the clearly set rule must be laid down. And that's why she is giving reference of Mount of Abba Antony, and a jar of wine was found there, and that's for the historical example she is giving. Just follow all orders of law. What God has laid down, the rules and regulations for man and women, they must be followed. In between, the discrepancies are there, and which is very difficult to control. So the Lord himself, speaking in a parable, says of what should be freely aided, but if you give more in addition, I will reply on my return. So God has actually laid down certain regulations, and they must be clearly followed. Anything plus minus can go actually in a very wrong way. Saint Benedict modifies the rule on this point too, although it is more dangerous for monks, and he knew it was not for them, because in this day it was impossible to persuade monk to abstain from meat. The food like meat and liquor, they could influence the mind and the chemical composition of the brain, and which could lead to unlawful, unreligious behavior from the monk side, from the nun side as well. So that's why these kind of food are completely banned. Abraham put his faith in the Lord, and that faith we counted to him in righteousness. See, all these things I have taken from the text itself. These are the copy paste material I have taken from the text, so please read them carefully, and you can take the screenshot. And these are the bullet points of chapter 6, which is letter of direction I am giving you, and you can remember this. So if Abraham was justified by works, then he has ground for pride. And what scripture says, Abraham put his faith in Lord, and that faith was counted to him in righteousness. You may eat anything sold in the meat market. Paul also writes to Corinthians, certainly food does not command us to God, and again you may eat anything sold in the meat market. I mean, you may find this is contradictory, but actually these are the references which we need to remember. For everything that God created is good, and nothing to be rejected. When Christ allows eat any kind of food, so that, see, what is that? I mean, this is coming with a particular reference. You would find that earlier I was talking about prohibition of meat and liquor in the convent life, and right now the reference is coming from the eat anything. So it is actually because when it is related to the specially hospitality. When you are going anywhere for preaching or a direction of the life, and if people offer you anything, by the time you cannot have choice. So that's how, just to keep the faith and the respect of the your host, you have to eat everything. And that's why we cannot have choice, because as a religious preacher you have gone there, and by the time if you say, and maybe your host or the person who has called you, they might not be able to arrange another food for you. So that's why whatever is being offered, eat and drink in the respect of the honor and the host. So for that, don't keep your choice of food if you are going and preaching in a society. Determining the difference between virtue and exhibition of virtue. And this is what? A virtue and exhibition of virtue. John and John disciples wasting away through excessive fasting. So, excessive of anything. For example, you are doing too much fast, or contrary to that, too much eating, and too much of anything is bad. That's why he says that keep the life in a balanced way, and that's why everything must be balanced. And that is why St. Augustine concludes that as regards towards matter, work adding nothing to merit, in his book on the God of Marriage, he says that continence is virtue not of the body but of the soul. So you have to keep your mind and body in a proper balance, and virtue which is being practiced, not is being talked. So what you are saying, just practice it in your life. That becomes the best example. Suffering of Jesus for human wisdom. And suffering brings wisdom, suffering brings patience, suffering brings a lot of inner thoughts. So as Buddha also says, you see within, you see in your own mind what are the thoughts and ideas which are going on. If you are disturbed from inside, you will disturb others also. So in this way, and Jesus also gave the best example by suffering himself. He suffered himself, and then he taught to the humanity that how you can bring out best for the human beings. And that's why virtue of continence was great in him as John the Baptist. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and men said he was possessed. And also, just as the merit of the endurance is not greater in the case of Peter, who suffered martyrdom, than in John, who did not. So there are examples. So that's how these examples, they give us selfless love for the humanity. Body cleaning must, and avoid wicked thoughts, adultery. Apostle says, for any kind of religious pious life, our mind and body must be cleansed. So by cleaning your body, because human body takes out so much of toxication and body smell, uncleanliness can bring diseases. So for that matter, cleaning of the body. And that's what Buddha also says, that for your best prayer, the best thing you can do that keep your body clean. And for the mind, the thoughts, wicked thoughts of adultery and harming others, and these must not be there. So for that matter, keep your mind and body clean. And that's why I'm just leaving this for so long, so you can take the screenshot as well. Look within yourself. Like Jacob, to provide forefathers a meal from domestic animals and not after wild game with Esau, and act Jews in outward thing. Hence the verse of the psalmist, I have bound myself with vows to thee, O God will redeem them with a due thank offering. To this at the word of the poet, do not look outside yourself, look within yourself, look within yourself. Peter calls, come to me all you whose work is hard, whose load is heavy. So the God is there, the Lord is there to share your burden. Apostle Peter also sharply rebuked certain people who were already converted to Christ but believed they should still keep to the work of the law. So that's how, keeping two ideas. Once you have committed yourself to the Christ, then believe in himself, and then don't follow the two separate paths. Paul writes to Timothy about widow, and that's why she's propagating the widow remarriage. Thus Paul writes to Timothy, if anyone the faithful has widow in the family, he must support them himself. The church must be relieved of the burden. So because earlier any woman become widow in the society, the burden goes to the church. So that's why the talk about that the society itself must support the poor and needy, and that's how the burden must be taken care by the family itself. That's why it is an example of sharing the burden. So the church can actually go for the more religious and preaching things. Then widow, by widow in the full sense he means all women devoted to Christ, for whom not only are their husband dead but the world is crucified and they too to the world. So that's why this is a wonderful statement. For what only their husbands are dead but the world is crucified, they too to the world. Like when a woman becomes widow, she has to think that the day her husband died, the whole world is not for her. It is not like it is abandoning, but it is actually starting a new life and a different life which is pious and not in the worldly manner. And that's why if a widow is there, either she should follow the complete pious path or religious path for the full following of the regulation, or she can go for the marriage and she can live as a married woman's life. Writing to the Thessalonian, the apostle, a man who will not work shall not eat, and that sent Benedict institute manual labor for the express purpose of preventing idleness. So what happened if the food is being served in the church, and monks and nuns, they eat and then whole day they sleep. So this brings idleness. So at least the person who is eating 2-3 times, they must put their labor equal to the eatings. After reading the gospel in night, when we should be specially segregated from the approach and side of man. So that's why she's asking for the separation of the man and woman, segregation of man and woman, so no physical act and no those human weaknesses could overpower in the religious path. And then she says farewell. So this is a beautiful letter, and through this letter there are certain points I would like to talk, that through this letter we could actually find out that Heloise is a woman of letters, and she is a very prominent reader of all the religious texts, and she has a thorough knowledge about these religious preachings, and that's why she's giving a lot of examples and she's quoting from the text. So she's completely devoted to the life of direction, and that's why she wants interference of Abelard, and here we can say that it's a kind of reformation going on. From the religious point of view, a lot of reformation is being demanded, and we can see the perspective of women and man is there, and how the things are being seen from the different perspective. So I think here we can take Heloise as a very wonderful individual example in the religious authority, and she's trying to intervene from the women perspective. So that's a wonderful way, and you can quote down. If you have any other extraordinary idea where you can have a lot of other text to support the idea, you can actually go for that. This is the best way. These are the bullet points I have given you for your letter number 6, letter of direction. And it is a complete, I have covered complete letter, and by just scrolling for 15-20 minutes you can actually be thorough, and these would be the best points for your answer. So thank you so much. Please subscribe my channel, Dr. Agurawa, and if there is anything which you find which is worth, please write me in comment section so we can make better things. And thank you so much for giving me your precious time. Thank you.